questions? Somebody's just excellent job and that kind of stuff. What is slicing? We'll get into that when we're talking about PSDs.
Yeah, it was just from a top-level understanding. When you have a big graphic, a more fancy graphic that's building up a web page, you could basically just cause the entire background to be that fixed graphic. And there would be ways to make that work. The problem with that would be is that the file size for images would be so massive that it would take a lot of time for the page to load, and it would also obviously cause you a lot of bandwidth issues on your website. It's just not the way to go. So slicing is just the way, the intelligence of how to take a complex image and how to figure out which areas can be cut out of it basically and then replicated through CSS to make the whole appearance look exactly the way you wanted it to look, but at the same time reducing the image file size to something that's really small and manageable, something that will load quickly for your visitors and something that won't cause you crazy issues with bandwidth. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Question, does it matter the order of the CSS coding on the page?
So is the question, does it matter about the order here? So you mean, can I take this H3, which I currently have in order H1, H2, H3, and can I move it? Let's see, I need to use my button to get it up here. Can I move it up here? Is that the question?
I just read you the question. I'm not sure if he means if it's an order of the in the style area or if it's ordered farther down the page. Briefly, I guess it's, if it's, you can move it. It's not as set as you might think it is. However, it is cascading and it affects from top to bottom how they react on something. So if you have something that conflicts below, moving it could change how it works.
Yep. So the answer if that was the question, does the order of the style rule?
Yeah, what in the style area does it matter?
Yeah. So the answer is yes and no. And that, unfortunately, is a problem, right? Because yes and no is ambiguous, and I'm not trying to be cheeky. The answer basically is there's a lot of it. A lot of CSS will not necessarily matter. The order can come differently, but like Jerry said, it does read the rules from top to bottom, and the order can affect that. Also, the same thing happens with some CS rules differently than others. For example, links or text link styling. All I showed you today was how to style the text link color in its default state to get it off of the default blue and to remove the underline, and then in the hover state to basically add back the underline. Well, there are other states to links. Links can be active, they can be visited. There's other things that you can do by styling text links more than just what I've shown you with just the default state and the hover state. And those, they actually matter if you're using all four of them. There's the state for link, visited, hover, and active. If you're using all four states, the order of them actually makes a difference. And how I got taught that was love-hate, and I'll just kind of show you that real quickly. Again, I'm only using, in this example, I'm only using the A tag by itself, and I'm using hover. There is also the ability to use the link, which is this. There's also the ability to use visited. I guess I put that up there. Link visited hover, and then after hover becomes active. And we may talk more about these and what they are and what they mean later. But these are the four main link states. You see what as far as the pseudo CSS is concerned. A::link, A::visited, A::hover, and I'm sorry, this is not visited. Active, sorry about that. Link visited, hover, active. If you're using all four states, they should come in this order. And again, how I told you just a second ago, excuse me, I got taught love, hate. So if you just use the first letter of each, LV, love, and then HA, HA for hate. So love, hate is just a simple little way to remember the link states in the proper order of them if you're using all four. A lot of times it won't matter, but here's, again, is part of the problem with understanding CSS is that, like Jerry said, there are times in which that the order of your CSS does affect the styling, and there are times in which it doesn't. So you can be messing around with something and move things and have things change on you and maybe not understand why. Another thing to point out is kind of, let's see, let me get rid of the right stuff and not the wrong stuff, is this understanding with CSS. Another understanding of CSS is the closer the CSS styling is to the element to be styled, the more likely it is that that style is going to take precedence. So this is basically what I mean. This bit of copy right here is wrapped in the class of deck copy. This CSS is right up tight to this bit of text. I mean, it's right here. What am I supposed to do with it? It's a class of deck copy. So because it's right up tight to this, it's going to say this is the most important thing for me to do to this text is whatever is right up tight to it. Here's what I kind of mean. Let's say I come up here and I add styling for paragraph, and what I do with the paragraph is I call it to be color of red, which basically means make all of the paragraph text in the color of red. Let's go look at the deck copy call out here real quick. There's no color being attached to it. So I'm going to put a color of blue just onto the deck copy temporarily, just so you see what I'm talking about. If we go back and take a look now at the page, all of our it's going to be really ugly. All of our paragraph text now becomes red because of that CSS, but you see that the deck copy, which is also a paragraph, it ignored it. And the reason it ignored it, because the cascading effect told it everything that's a paragraph to make it red. But the reason it ignored it was because when it got down to that actual bit of copy, it said, well, wait a minute, I know he said to style all paragraph text as red, but this CSS is right here attached to this text. It's right up close and personal. And because of that, I believe that he wants me to ignore the earlier and to apply the CSS rule for deck copying. So that's exactly why it did that. So I'm hoping that that helps too. Anything else, Jerry? Jerry, you still there?
I'm sorry, wrong button. I'm here.
Okay.
Somebody's asking about if you want to indent a line item, LI tag, would you use padding, and does it have to be CSS, or can you use it in the HTML?
It would be appropriate to do it through CSS. I mean, again, we talked about the fact that you can do things through HTML. I mean, it's not that you can't do something, but whether you can do something or not doesn't necessarily make it right. Okay, so here is two HTML entities again for the non-breaking space. that happens right before the first line item. So now this is doing spacing, after or basically between the bullet, not to the left of the bullet. And if we go look at this, let's see. It's hard to see. I don't know that it actually did anything. But that's okay because it's not good to do it anyway. So I guess the question is, where is the indentation? You want the indentation between, you want more spacing between the bullet and the text? Because the indentation to the left of here, we've styled through the actual unordered list itself. Can you tell, Jerry? Do you know which?
No, he hasn't. It's just if you want to indent line item, then you would use padding. Does it have to be in the CSS, or can you use it in the HTML? And the main thing is you can do style inline, which we showed in the last webinar, but it's really not recommended, especially when you're sitting there tweaking, a style. You're going back and forth and having to edit a whole bunch of HTML code in some cases.
Right. So the answer to that is, if you wanted to, the left-hand margin is being attacked through the actual UL selector. So if I wanted to push that over further, I could, cause it to be 150 pixels margin left, and now we'll see this whole block move even further to the right. Maybe that looks a little bit better, depending upon the layout. If you want more spacing between the line item, then you can add it here. Again, right at the moment, we've only added 5 pixels to the top and bottom and nothing to the left and right. So maybe I want to do 5 pixels to the top. I think it should be left, top, right, bottom, and then left. And this is one of those things where, I'll be honest, a lot of times, even I still today, I got to play around with values. This, I think, will work. But if it doesn't, we'll see. Yeah, it did. So we basically moved, it's spacing to the left. Left of each line item is causing more spacing to happen here. So if you had, check marks or something that needed a little bit more space, you'd have the ability to move it over. And all I did was just change the padding value from 5 pixels top and bottom, nothing left and right, to now it's 5 top. The right is nothing. To the left of each line item is 5 pixels, and to the bottom of each line item is 5 pixels. And now we end up with this. So I'm hoping that helps.
Somebody was asking, like, check marks. How are they added as a bullet?
They're added as an image now. So instead of using just the default stuff, they're actually added as an image. And there's a number of different ways that you could do it. If we had a check mark available, because we could do that. Maybe that'll be something we'll pick up in the next one. But basically, you would add a background. If you were going to use the same image across all of your bulleted items, you could add it or just style it right here. We'll talk about background images let's see, we just do check mark. You could style it right here through the use of the background statement. Basically tell the list items to use a background image. In this case, you see how it's built. It's instead of using image source in CSS, it uses URL. Which image do you want to use? In this case, if we had one called checkmark.jpg, it would use it. And by default, the browser is trying to repeat any background image, just so you know. It's trying to repeat it both left and right, or in the x-axis, and also top to bottom in the y-axis. So I've just used no repeat to say, look, I don't want you repeating the image. It's just a once and done thing. And if we had an image named checkmark .jpg, it would want to use it. Over here in list style type, we would have to select this to none. none basically tells it to turn off its default list style, which again, like I said, if you don't put any list style type, it's going to be disk. So I guess let me show you that real quick. So we'll get rid of list style type altogether. Now because we haven't set it, it's going to switch from this open circle to the disk. You see that here, the default state. And if we get rid of that, or to get rid of that, we can type list hyphen style type of none. And now that's going to remove the default styling altogether. And you see now we have no default things, and that gives us the ability to add now the background check marks or whatever to each line item. I'll add that to my notes, and we'll cover that. We'll cover the styling of adding custom images for the bullets in the next additional part of this session. Anything else, Jerry?
Not for now. That's seems to be everything answered so far.
Wow, cool. Alrighty. Well, good. Jerry and I will talk offline, and he'll, I'm sure, give me some pointers in regards to some of the other things that we might want to add to this session to help kind of build to the next, because quite honestly, there is a very large jump between this session and the session that'll happen next Wednesday. It's not that next session is going to be, extremely uber advanced in terms of what can be done through CSS, but it's going to be way more advanced than what you're looking at here. And again, I'll just do my best to try to form intelligent thought and bring you all along in a manner that makes sense to do so. So with that, Jerry, if you don't have anything else other than to say ciao, I think we're done.
I think that's pretty much it. Somebody's asking about getting a hold of the source code.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be part of the package that we put up. So when we put up the webinars, you'll get access to the source code that builds this as well. Again, and you're welcome to do anything you want with it. It's just a simple, HTML sales page, but you're welcome to use it. You're welcome to sell it. I don't really care. You can do anything you want with it. So, cool.
Okay.
All right, Jerry and I will do our best to get this up, sooner than later into the members area. And then again, like I said, we're going to meet at the same scheduled time on Friday, which, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's still 11 o'clock, right?
11 o'clock.
Okay, except
Time
that
for the gardener.
Yeah, except that we're going to shorten that session probably to an hour and a half, and probably have a lot more time for questions and maybe a little bit of just play time, in addition to some of the other stuff that we want to teach in regards to understanding doc types a little bit better and understanding how to validate code. And we'll probably play around with maybe background images in this layout. Definitely we'll play around with styling list items with images and stuff like that. And then the following Wednesday, a week from now, we'll get into the more advanced PSD. So with that, thank you everyone for sticking around. We really appreciate you. I hope that this has helped to grow your knowledge of HTML and CSS, and we hope to grow it farther. So with that, have a great day.
Bye.